Hello and welcome to this short presentation on how to use the EMU USB drive fitted to your Orla product. Supplied with the instrument was a USB stick, which has been formatted to work correctly on the unit and contains a backup of all the factory settings on each of the 99 tracks, as well as some additional style blocks and corresponding automatic setup files to be found on tracks 96 and 97. But before you start worrying about how to load those, let us just take some time to familiarise ourselves with how this unit works. When you first power the instrument up, you will see a track number appear, in this case 01. And it will alternate between the track number and two small dashes, like so. This is perfectly normal and is merely showing the number of the track selected last by the USB drive. It is also important to realise that each track of the stick places a small amount of internal memory into the instrument itself, rather like a small hard drive. This enables us to store multiple files and indeed different file types on each track. For example, a track on the USB stick could contain a few registration files and a couple of songs that you have recorded. So let's have a look now at how we save to the stick. So let's have a look at how we go about saving files to the stick. First of all, create some of your own registrations and save them into the 16 overall preset buttons found on the panel of the instrument. Then you're ready to save those to the internal memory of the instrument. We do this by first of all pressing the disk button. This is located on the second row directly underneath the screen. At this point, the screen will always say the word directory. If we press the right-hand data arrow once, then we change that word to saying save in the screen. This is what we want to do, so we respond by pressing the yes button. We now see in the screen it says save overall presets. Well, in this instance, that is what we want to save. So again, we respond by pressing the yes button. The screen, or the machine rather, automatically now gives a name to our set of presets. In this case, it's come up with preset bank 03. That's because I've already saved two sets already, just for the purpose of this short DVD. If we're going to accept that name, we just say yes. And it says file saving. As soon as the screen reverts to just saying the word save, then we know that our 16 overall presets are now saved into the internal memory of the instrument. And at this point, we can switch off the disk button. Of course, you can do this as many times as you require, or as the internal memory will allow you to do. Now, it's important to realise that at this stage, you're only saving to the internal memory of the machine, and we've not yet saved it onto the stick. You could store, for example, 30 or more sets of overall presets on one track of the USB stick, but I would recommend you limit the number to half a dozen or so per track, as this makes searching for files afterwards much easier. You could also record a performance or two into the internal memory by following the instructions in your owner's manual under the heading How to Record a Performance. Now, for the sake of this little DVD, I've already recorded now 3 sets of overall presets and a couple of small performances. Please note that if you switch the organ off now before saving to the stick, your files will still be there the next time you power up, as they are now saved into the internal memory of the instrument. But of course, I would always advise backing up onto the stick, just in case. And here's how we do it. First of all, insert the USB stick supplied with the instrument into the drive, like so. Now we need to save. The save button is the furthest left of the 4 buttons. If we just press the save button momentarily, please don't hold it, we'll see what happens. The letters CH appear in the screen. As soon as it returns to showing the track number, but this time with a dot after each digit, we can now use the up and down buttons to select the track we wish to save to. In this case, I'm going to save to track 2. Having selected that, now press and hold the save button this time. You'll see the letters SA appear and the blue flashing light. At this point, we now know that all of those files that were stored in the internal memory, which was 3 sets of overall presets and 2 performances, are now all saved onto the stick on track 2. Of course, these files are still in the internal memory of the instrument until a different set of files are loaded. And loading a file from the USB stick is very similar, but we use the load button instead of the save button. This is how we do it. Again, with the stick inserted, this time we press the load button, which is the first button in from the left-hand side of the 4 buttons. Again, momentarily press the load button, don't hold the button. The letters CH appear, and the name of the current channel being used will appear. For the purpose of the DVD, I've changed this to 03. We need you to use the down button to select 02 and now press and hold the load button. Again, you see the letters LO and the blue light is flashing to show that it's now loading those files back into the machine. And at this point, what has actually happened is that it's loaded my 3 sets of overall presets and my 2 song performances back into the internal memory of the instrument. We now need to load those files as required into the actual machine itself. Let's have a look at how we do this. Because we've loaded multiple files back into the internal memory, we now need to tell the instrument which individual style we would like to use at any given point in time. And again, we do this via the disk button. So we press the disk button, and I'm going to use the right-hand data arrow to change from the word directory. Next option was save, which we've used earlier. Press again, and we come to the option load. As this is what we want to do, we press the yes button. Now it gives us that first option again to load overall presets. And that's, in this case, what we want to do. So we press yes. And in the screen appears the name of one of the 3 overall preset files that I've saved. In this case, it's preset bank 01. If I wanted that bank, then I would just say yes, and it would load it. If, for example, I want preset bank 3, then I use the scroll buttons to scroll through until the name preset bank 03 appears in the screen, and then press yes. Screen says file loading, and as soon as it returns to just saying load, then I know that those set of 16 overall presets has now been loaded into the buttons on the machine. And at this point, we can switch off the disk button. It's worth mentioning, of course, that any songs that you had saved on the stick don't need reloading into the machine. They are automatically there when you load that track back from the stick. And to access them, we just use the scroll buttons. If I use the scroll up button, there's the name of one of our songs, song 2, and we can scroll through to song 1. Of course, I've only got 2 songs on here. You may have more than that. And you scroll through until the name of the one you want is in the display, and then you just press play in the disc section to play that song back. Now, you may want to reload the factory settings. And at any time, it's very easy to do this because whatever track of the stick you've loaded into the internal memory, you will find an all file has been loaded with the complete factory settings on. How do we access this? Well, once again, we go via the disk button and we press the right-hand data arrow 2 times to give us the load option. Yes, we want to load, but in this instance, I don't want to just load overall presets, so I use the scroll buttons to go through the various options that I can load, and as we come to the end of the list, there is one there that says all, and that's the file type of file that we're looking for. We press yes, and in the screen appears our se01.all, which is the factory setting file. At this point, if I press the yes button, it will begin to load the factory settings back in. Now please bear in mind, because this is loading not only overall preset data, but also a block of user styles and the automatic setups to go with those styles, it will take longer than just loading a simple overall preset file. When everything is loaded, once again, you switch off the disk button. At the beginning of this presentation, I did mention that on track 96 and 97 of the USB sticks supplied are some additional styles for you to try, and also some automatic setup files which present you with the correct registrations to go with those styles. So let's just have a brief look at how we would load one set of these styles into the machine. Of course, by default, there are 16 user styles already preloaded in your machine, but they are backed up within that all file that we've just talked about that's on the stick. So don't worry, you won't lose them permanently. You can always put them back in the machine. But should you wish to try any of these other styles, this is how we do it. We want to load, so we go to the load button on the USB drive and press it momentarily. The letters CH come up and we're waiting for the track number to appear with the dots after the digits. Now we need to scroll up to 96 or 97. In this case, I don't have to go all the way from 2 right up to 96 or 97. I can actually go down and go back past 00, in this case to 96. To load that, I press and hold the load button until the letters LO and the blue LED appears. We let that do its loading, and that has now loaded the contents of that track of the stick into the internal memory of the machine. So once again, we've now loaded multiple files into the internal memory of the machine. So we now need to tell the machine what is it we want. So we press the disk button, and once again the right hand data arrow 2 times to give us the load option. We press the yes button, and again by default it comes up with the option to load overall presets. It's not overall presets again that I'm looking to load on this instance. The first thing I need to load is a style block. That's a complete set of 16 styles. So use the scroll up button to go through the different options, and we come to style block. As that's what we want to load, we press yes. And the name of the first style block that was located on track 96 of the stick is Ballad. BLK stands for block. We could scroll through and see the different blocks. We have ballroom, we have European, we have Latin, and so on. We choose the one we want to load. I'm going to load the ballroom styles. So with that name in the screen, we press the yes button. It says file loading. Once again, this is a very large file that's loading a lot of data, so it will take a few minutes to load, but eventually you'll see the word load just reappear in the screen. We then know that that block of 16 styles has been loaded into the user section. So with this loaded, we now need to load an automatic setup file that has the corresponding registrations on for those new styles we've loaded. There's no need to switch the disk button on. The option says load, and that's what we want to do, so we press yes. Again, we don't want to load overall presets. This time I'm looking for automatic setups. So we scroll only the once and the words automatic setup appear in the screen. We press the yes button, and here are the same named files, but this time with an ASU extension, which stands for automatic setup. The one we're looking for is there, Ballroom ASU. And we access that by using the scroll buttons. With that in the screen, we press yes. And that is now loading the registrations to go with those styles. So that gives you a brief look at how the very, very clever USB unit works in your Orla instrument.